Welcome back. Now, for some, the beginning of a new year brings with it a period of uncertainty and anxiety as they face hardships such as unemployment, load shedding, and the high cost of living. In his New Year message this past Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa reflected on the setbacks of 2023, but also said the country has cause for hope and optimism. However, how does one take care of their mental wellness in the midst of a stressful life? Well, to find out, we're joined virtually by Professor Saths Cooper, President of the Pan-African Psychology Union. Prof, a very good morning to you. A warm welcome to Morning Live. I suppose the first question would be, many of us take, mental wellness lightly. I mean, how important is it for our well-being and reaching our goals?
Well, I think that this is an underestimated part of our lives. More than half of what we suffer from physically has a psychological or other cause, environmental, living, life experience, stress cause for what we suffer from. And if we recognize that, part of our difficulties would be over. But most of us tend to look at, well, I've got this, and don't look at the cause of that. And we're not trained to look at that. But it's very clear that if we recognize mental health as an issue that is part of our lives, that we have to engage with, then that helps us to deal with what you've talked about. The psychological effects of the stresses that you've outlined are going to play an important role in whatever we do. These will increase, and this year in particular is going to be a very significant year because of all those factors, part of which you've raised. The country with the highest unemployment rate and the lowest employment rate, and the levels of poverty are stark and are increasing, and there doesn't seem to be any change on the horizon. So it's natural to experience stress, to experience uncertainty and a sense of helplessness that will arise from those factors. And to harness those properly, one would need to actually engage with yourself, one, and engage with others around you. Look for the support systems within your family, group of friends, and so on. Then make this something that comes naturally because it hits us naturally. Therefore, we need to be able to talk about this to those around us, because if we don't do that, we'll suffer alone, and the consequences can be quite drastic in terms of, particularly, you're looking at some of the things that are going to start happening within the next week or two. Matric results are going to emerge, and there's going to be anxiety about that. We also know that South Africa is one of those countries that has a high suicide rate, and that suicide rate is not decreasing, it's increasing, and therefore we need to care for those around us, look for changes in attitude, in the things we do, being withdrawn, etc., that all can help us to be with those that we care about, and those that care about look out for us.
Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest challenges with people who suffer from, mental health issues will say the biggest thing is asking for help. It's taking that step because you feel all alone and you don't want to burden people with your issues. How do you start recognizing that you need help?
Well, I think each of us knows when we need that help. We tend to deny it. We tend to think, I don't have, I'm not going crazy. I'm not mad. It's not a sense of madness or craziness. It's a sense of coming to grips with high stress, anxiety, and conditions that often are beyond our ability to control. And therefore, we bear those symptoms. We can't do much about the chaos that surrounds us. We can't do much about the corruption. We can't do much about the lack of engagement in our society. And therefore, we need to start with the self. recognizing that, engaging with those who are more vulnerable than you, especially adults with children, and those under 30 constitute by far the majority in our society. We need to look out for them because they can pick up cues within the environment. They can pick up our own insecurity, and that can play on them. And therefore, we need to be on the watch for our children and teens because they replicate what they see around. They replicate our behaviors. And if we withdraw, they will also tend to be dislocated in what they're doing. So we need to care for them and look out for young ones and other vulnerable people in our sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm. And as a country, we've been on a roller coaster of experiences, including, the continued load shedding that it has negatively impacted, the lives of people. Is there a reason to be optimistic and hopeful?
I don't think so, but it's a reality. Coming to terms with that reality rather than saying, well, we'll look out and maybe it will change. We know that there are major problems in our society. So we need to talk about this amongst ourselves and understand that we can do much more to help ourselves not confront those negativities. Even worse, I think, is that there's a lack of water. Water is life. You need light to do certain things, but water is a quintessential part of living. Just like air, we need water, and our water shortages are increasing at an alarming rate. And so those factors are reality. If we're impacted by them, it's normal. It's normal to be impacted by them. It's abnormal not to be impacted by them. Therefore, we need to recognize that it's within us to make some of those changes, adapt to some of the situations, but also to put forward our sense of what can we do about it. Talk about what we can do about it rather than be trapped by them versus us. If we increase our sense of agency about it, we become angry, we become concerned about it, and try to do something about it. Knock on the doors of those, literally, knock on the doors of those who are paid to do these things. Bureaucrats, as well as the plethora of politicians who are paid in this country. Heaven knows what half of them do, but there needs to be that sense of these people are supposed to represent us. They're going to come to us very soon. By the middle of this month, they're going to be on a role for electioneering. And we need to put them on the spot. Let's focus on that, being positive about making them account to us rather than wait for some manna from heaven. That's not going to happen.
All right. Professor Saths Cooper, thank you so much for talking to us. He is the president of the Pan-African Psychology Union, talking to us about taking care of our mental wellness and mental health in 2024.